Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a story time / review video based on the cruise I just took with my boyfriend last week. If you guys have not seen our vacation video, it is up on my channel right now and I highly encourage you to go watch it. There is also a link in the description of it that brings you to my cruise critic review of the vacation, which, disclaimer, was incredible. We had an amazing time. It was a 4-night, 5-day cruise that felt like a week. It felt like a full week. It was better than our previous cruise, which was in 2016. There's also a video of that on my channel if you want to go check that out. But yeah, it was just incredible. We had a really relaxing time. We came home just feeling so much better. To go to a warm place like that in the winter time, I live in Maine, it's very cold. It was awesome. So that was great, but all things aside, we did have to deal with something quite annoying when we got home, which is what this video is about. And I'm going to tell you guys the story, and I want you guys to kind of make your own judgments as to what might have happened here and maybe who is to blame other than myself, because I made some dumb choices, as you're about to learn. So the title of this video is True. We actually did have things stolen out of our bag / potentially just taken out, but I'll get to that. At this point, I'm kind of assuming it was a theft just based on the circumstances of the entire thing. So I am a super meticulous packer. I make lists like a week beforehand before I pack anything, and I am really thorough. I try to think of everything, and I organize my lists by like category. And so Brandon and I had our packing list done a couple of days before we started packing. I packed the night before we left, which was on Sunday. We only bring one suitcase for the two of us just because we don't want to have to check another bag. So we bring one big suitcase, a smaller one which we put like heavier things like shoes in, and then we both bring backpacks as carry-on items on the plane. So we don't have a ton of luggage for the two of us. I try to cram everything into that one big suitcase. So that was kind of my main focus, was getting all of our clothes and like odds and ends, like my makeup and hair stuff, into the big suitcase. Anything that we couldn't travel with in our carry-on that was like liquids, like shampoo, that type of thing, that all goes in the big bag. As I was finishing up, Brandon had mentioned that he wanted to bring his watch with him on the cruise to wear with his suit on formal night, which I knew, but I don't think I had put it on the list. So very last minute, I went and grabbed his watch and my watch, put them on the floor with a couple of other last minute items. One of them being my bottle of perfume, because I hadn't put that on the list either. And so those things were kind of sitting together, and I took a plastic bag and like a Walmart bag and wrapped them up in the same bag together, those 3 items, and put them in the center of the suitcase where I knew they weren't going to be bumped around, and they were kind of like held with our, like between our clothes. Our formal clothes were the very last thing to go into the suitcase. We laid my dress on top and then his suit on top of that, and his suit was in a plastic like a trash bag, like wrapped over it so that nothing got on it. Probably should have put that in a garment bag, but this was super last minute. We bought the suit like that day. So yeah, it was just kind of on top, and I wanted to make sure that those 2 things were there because I didn't want them to get wrinkled or messed up. So those were the last 2 things to go into that bag. We went to the airport, we checked our suitcase, got in line, got on the plane, you know, all that. Everything went without a hitch. Nothing was wrong with that at all. Our suitcase was the first one on the carousel when we got to Miami. We took that, we went and got on the Royal Caribbean shuttle to go to Port Miami, and again, all was well. We put our suitcase in the bottom of the bus. The bus took us there, we took it out, or they took it out of the bus, put it on the platform. We had our luggage tags on our bags as normal. We just made sure our stuff was right with everybody else's in the group, and we just went and got on the boat. We were expecting to get our luggage later in the day because on our last cruise we got it at about 4 o'clock, and so our room was ready at 1:30, but we didn't have our luggage yet. It was not a big deal. We bring carry-on bags with us, like with our bathing suits and stuff, so I was not worried at all. We got back to the room right around 5 o'clock, and we immediately needed to get ready for dinner at 6. So our bags were right outside the room, no issue, and we grabbed them, brought them in our room, and upon opening the big suitcase, that was when I noticed something was wrong. The first words out of my mouth were, they had to go through our bags, because like I had told you before, I had put our formal clothes on the top and immediately noticed that my dress was now on top of the suit. Previously was under the suit. And on top of that was my perfume bottle that I had wrapped in a bag, in the plastic bag with the watches. And that was weird to me. And in my mind, I was like, you didn't pack it like this, because like I told you, I'm a very meticulous packer. And so looking at the perfume bottle, I said to Brandon, oh, they must have thought that I was trying to bring liquor on board the ship. You are not allowed to bring liquor or alcohol of any kind in your bag. You have to buy everything on the boat. Unless it's like a sealed bottle of wine, I think that's allowed. But anything that looks like a liquor bottle, they were probably gonna take out upon scanning to get onto the ship. That was my initial just assumption. I was like, they must have thought that it was liquor. And I will show you guys that bottle right now. So this was the bottle that I brought on the ship with me. I mean, it's a pretty big perfume bottle. This was probably like mistake number one. Like, why did I not think that they were gonna be suspicious of this? I don't know. It's no different than a shampoo bottle or mouthwash or whatever. So this was weird to me. It was out and it was just like on top of our stuff. Yeah, I was a little bit annoyed. I was like, why would they have gone through our stuff? Like, why wouldn't they have like, you know, like what was the deal with this? Like, they must have thought it was liquor. So we just kind of like kept going with our day. Everything was fine until I was just about ready for dinner that night. And I said, oh, I want to wear my watch to dinner. I went back into our suitcase. I'm digging through it. I'm going through all of the plastic bags. Everything's just like our shampoo, our toiletries. And then I'm slowly remembering that the bag that they had been in was the same bag that the perfume was in. And that bag was no longer anywhere at all. I went through the bag several times. Brandon went through the bag several times. We had actually taken a bunch of our stuff out anyway, so the whole thing was like basically empty at this point. No watches to be found. So we are out on the ocean. Like, we have left the port. And so I said to Brandon, you know what? Maybe I forgot to pack them. Maybe I left them in our room. They were very last minute items. Maybe I just completely forgot. So I just disregarded the entire thing and we went on our merry way with our cruise. There was really nothing we could do at that point upon noticing they were gone. But it was still like stuck in my head, like the whole time. Every time we would need to go into our suitcase for something, I was kind of like also looking for them, looking for that bag, looking in the room, seeing if I had placed them somewhere and just not realized. And seriously regretting not putting them in our carry-on because they were items of value. I don't know, like I had packed them in our big bag in the past before. We had no issues. So the whole cruise goes by, we pack our bags up, we leave, we get off the ship, we get on our plane, we fly home, everything's fine. And as we're driving home, I think in my head, oh yeah, like I need to go and look and see if our watches are at home. That's like the first thing I need to look for. And I come upstairs as soon as we're in the house and I look around our room and there's nothing. Like there's no watches anywhere, nothing. Panic sets in. I realize, oh my God, I did bring them. Oh my God, they had to have gotten taken out of our bag on accident. My first thought is like, this wasn't a theft. The people scanning our bags at some point, either in the airport or on the boat, took that perfume out to look at it and then forgot to put that other bag back in. Like that had to have been what happened. Like that they didn't realize the watches were in there. I don't know. So that was my first thought. So the first thing I did was call Royal Caribbean and they were very unhelpful. I really like the cruise line in general. However, the people I talked to, because I called twice, the people I talked to basically just said, yeah, you need to call Miami police because we don't deal with stuff like this. And I was like, well, like I don't want to file a police report because I don't know if this was a theft. They were like, we suggest you make sure like they're not in your house at all, like that you didn't just miss them. We tore the house apart. I mean, they're not here. I get off the phone with Royal Caribbean and I decide to call Port Miami, which is the port that we left from. And that man, his first initial reaction was, they went through your bags and didn't tell you? Because turns out Royal Caribbean or any cruise line has a policy that if they have to go through your bag, that you are present, or they have to tell you that they did it. We did not get either of those things. Neither of those things happened. Red flag right there. I was like, oh my gosh, so if they did go through our bags and didn't notify us, they might have gone through them to take something out. That's bad. That's really bad, because that would classify this as theft. So Port Miami, they actually rent the space to Royal Caribbean, and the man was really nice, but he was like, I'm really sorry, I can't help you because we rent that space to them and they bring in their own people. He's like, I just provide the space, that's it. So that was a little discouraging, but I was like, no problem, I totally understand, you can't help me any further, that's fine. So then I call American Airlines. They have actually their own phone line for lost luggage and missing items. And so I talked to a woman there. She was very apologetic. And I told her flat out, I said, I don't think it was American that lost our stuff. I don't see why they would have gone through our bag in the first place. We also did not get a slip from TSA at all in our bag, which you're supposed to get. And she did say that. So she thought the whole situation was weird. And she launched kind of an investigation for us. She filled out a form for us saying, this is what's missing, this is the description of the lost items. She told me that if American Airlines had been the one to take our stuff out and lose it, that there was a 99.9% chance that we would get our items back, but if not, we can file for reimbursement through them. Which makes me feel really weird because I don't think it was them that lost our stuff, and if they reimburse us, it just feels wrong for me to place blame on them. I truly think it was somebody at the cruise port, because it just seemed like a way more shady circumstance. I understand that theft happens at airports and obviously at cruise ports, it happens in both places, but for me, I just pegged it immediately as the cruise port. It's a lot more of a more different process. It's not like TSA. I don't know how they actually scan everything. I'm not sure what that whole process is, so it's just a little bit more shady. So that is the current situation. They have our complaint / lost items report, and they're supposed to be looking into it. I have not heard from American Airlines yet. It has been about a week, and so I'm just kind of still waiting on that. And she told me after 10 days, if they haven't found our stuff, we can file for reimbursement. I have not called Miami PD simply because I don't think that the issue of 2 lost watches from 2 weeks ago is going to really do anything. I don't think they're gonna really take much action on that, especially because they waited. Our watches were not overly crazy expensive, but mine was my Michael Kors watch, which is actually discontinued. The style of it is no longer being made. And it was a present from Brandon, and so that makes me really just sad because I wore it constantly. It was my favorite watch I've ever owned in my life. I wore it with everything, it went with everything. And so that's a bummer. And his was, he didn't wear his very often, but when we did get dressed up, he would wear it. And so that just it's just such a bummer to have this happen right as we're getting home from vacation, having to deal with people and having to be calling and making all these reports. It's just kind of a downer after a vacation, but I'm trying to look past that and I'm trying to just be positive about the fact that we had an awesome time. So what do you guys think? Who is to blame here other than myself for putting those things in our big bag and putting trust in these people? But who do you think lost our items? Do you think it was the cruise line or do you think it was TSA? If there's any kind of update about this, I will make a video about it, but as of right now, those watches are who knows where. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this. Make sure that you click the subscribe button and also go check out my cruise video and go check out my cruise review if you're interested in cruising in the future, if you're a first-time cruiser or if you're just curious about the one that we went on. It was awesome. So thank you guys, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Bye.